Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Big Shot Breakdown. Running over 5 college basketball games for Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 bank shot best bet, as well as my all-access season pass in college hoops, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in college basketball. First up, we see George Mason taking on Tennessee. This one's going to be 6:30 Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+. I think this is a good spot here for Tennessee. I'm not giving up on this team. You look at the record, 4-3, 3-game losing streak currently. I still think this is one of the teams to beat in the SEC, maybe the best team in the conference right now. As you look at that losing streak, it was to Purdue, Kansas, and North Carolina, 2 neutral site games, 1 true road game. We know Tennessee has not been the best team away from home in recent years, but now returning home to play a solid program in George Mason. I think Tennessee bounces back. George Mason, give them credit, they're 7-1 this season. They have some nice wins on the resume, including their 4-game win streak, beating teams like South Dakota State, East Carolina. They beat Toledo on the road. That was their first true road game. However, this team is still yet to play a team in the top 100 in KenPom. All their opponents, most of those games at home, some neutral site games, all against teams outside the top 100 in KenPom. And I do think that this is a really tough step up in competition for the Patriots here. And this team's playing well, they're shooting the ball well, 17th in the country in three-point shooting, but they're facing by far the toughest defense they've seen this season, one of the best defenses in the country, number 2 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency. I do think Tennessee wins this game handily. I think it's a really good spot for them, and we're getting a really good price because of that recent 3-game losing streak. We're getting a buy low spot here with Tennessee at home, so give me the Vols. I like them to win this game big. Next up, we see Villanova and Kansas State. This one's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2, a part of the Big East Big 12 battle. Neither of these teams are in good form going into this game. Villanova lost outright in the last 2 games, upset losses to St. Joseph's and Drexel, whilst Kansas State needed overtime in each of its last 2 games at home against teams that they were double-digit favorites over in Oral Roberts and North Alabama. Now, while Villanova lost both of those games outright to St. Joseph's and Drexel, I do think those are 2 decent teams, and those are 2 regional rivalries in the Big 5 Classic in Pennsylvania. And I still think Villanova going forward is a really solid team in the Big East. I like what I've seen from them overall. There's a couple of tough spots for them. St. Joseph's is a really improved team this year, even Drexel. And in that game against Drexel, they only lost that game by 2 points. Villanova shot a miserable 5 of 27 from 3, 18.5%. Drexel, the Dragons, they were 8 of 16, 50% from the perimeter, yet it was only a 2-point win. It shows you how good Villanova's defense is, but they've kind of been unlucky with their opponents having really good shooting performances. But in a game like this, Kansas State's offense has not been great shooting the ball as of late. Tyler Perry's off to not a great start to the year. Last year and the year before, he was a 40+% three-point shooter. This season, 24 of 70, 34.3%. Not going to cut it. They really need him to be that, elite scorer this season, as they lost a lot of production from last year's team. And even the defense for Kansas State, right now it's ranked 58th in adjusted defensive efficiency, but teams are scoring on them. Oral Roberts had a really nice day offensively in that game. Even North Alabama did. And I do think Villanova's offense gets going in a game like this. Villanova, a very tough team to beat system-wise. It's a very strong team on both ends of the court. Great free throw shooting team. So in a late game, if Villanova has a lead, I trust them to get the job done, hold on to that lead with those free throws. And I think in a game like this, a close game, I just trust Villanova more. So I'm going to take the Villanova Wildcats here. You can take them on the money line. Next up, we see San Diego State taking on Grand Canyon. This one, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN2. San Diego State, they're on a 6-game win streak. Got to give them credit. They played well this year, but on the road this season, they have not been the best. We saw them lose outright in their first true road game to BYU, 74-65. And then in their last game against UC San Diego, they were around a 13.5, 14-point favorite at the closing number. They only won that game by 1 point, 63-62, and honestly, they did not deserve to win that game. They were losing basically from start to almost finish. They needed a buzzer beater to win that one by 1 point, and they weren't great fundamentally in that game. They only had 4 trips to the free throw line. They only forced 4 turnovers. UC San Diego was the better team in that game, in my opinion. But San Diego State, give them credit for finding the W. But now in a much tougher place against a much tougher team in Grand Canyon, I don't know if I love the chances for San Diego State here. Grand Canyon should be way up for this game, getting to play the runner-ups from last year in the national championship, and Grand Canyon playing well this year. Sure, their strength of schedule has not been amazing. They only have 2 games against top 100 teams. They're 1-1 in those games. They beat San Francisco, lost to South Carolina. Both of those games were competitive. But, I mean, Grand Canyon usually has a very, very big home court advantage. And like I said, should be way up for this ball game. Fundamentally, I like them in this matchup. They're 10th in the country in offensive rebounding. They get to the free throw line like nobody's business. They force a lot of turnovers. They're a good shooting team. I think they'll have to improve from the perimeter as the season goes along. But this is a really good GCU team, and I like their chances in this game to earn the outright W. So give me Grand Canyon in this one against San Diego State. Next up, we go to the Big Ten as Indiana takes on Michigan. This one, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on Peacock. Now, Indiana, this is their first true road game of the season. And last year, the Hoosiers actually played pretty well on the road. They put together some nice wins in conference play, especially in true road games. Purdue, Illinois, they beat Michigan on the road. But that was also one of the more talented teams we've seen in the last 10 years for Indiana basketball. And they lost a lot of production from last year's team, and they also have some injuries to worry about going into this one. Xavier Johnson missed last game against Maryland. It's questionable to see whether he's going to return or not for this ball game. But I'm still not in love with taking Indiana on the road, especially in that first true road game of the season. They played a rather weak schedule thus far. They do have that step-up game against UConn, but they lost that game by 20, 77-57 at the neutral site. Michigan has lost 4 of its last 5 games, but it's played a much tougher schedule, in my opinion. It's played Oregon on the road. They lost that game in overtime. No shame in that, honestly. True road game against Oregon, forcing overtime is not too bad. Texas Tech at the neutral site, Memphis at the neutral site. They played Stanford at a neutral site and St. John's in a true road game. So Michigan's pretty battle-tested. They finally returned home, their first home game since November 17th. I think they bounce back here, and I think they get the revenge win against Indiana. Michigan's top 20 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. Really good offense. The defense has struggled so far. It's 342nd in three-point defense, but luckily, you're facing an Indiana team that's one of the worst three-point shooting teams in college basketball right now, shooting the ball at 25% clip from three-point range this season. So I do think this is actually a pretty good matchup for Michigan at home against a rival, playing with revenge. I like the Wolverines to grab a win and a cover, so give me Michigan. I'll lay the points. Next up, the final game we're going to talk about for Tuesday's card in college basketball. It's going to be Cleveland State and St. Mary's. This one, 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Now, similar to Tennessee, I'm not giving up on St. Mary's right now. I know the record looks ugly on paper, 3-5 this season. They're on a 2-game losing streak. Before, they had a 3-game losing streak. But they played a really tough schedule this season, mostly teams in the top 100 in Kent Palm, a couple opponents just outside the top 100. And you could argue Cleveland State, other than St. Mary's first game against a subdivision opponent, Cleveland State's the weakest team that St. Mary's has played this season. They get to play them at home. I think St. Mary's bounces back here. Like I said, battle-tested, neutral site game. San Diego State, Xavier played a home game against Utah, home game against Davidson. They played New Mexico, and that win's looking really strong right now. They beat New Mexico by 14 points. And, Cleveland State, give them credit for their 6-3 record this season, but they played a really weak schedule. They've only played one top 100 team in Kent Palm. They lost that game on the road against Duquesne. In fact, Cleveland State is 0-3 on the road this season. They lost to Duquesne, lost to Eastern Michigan, not a great loss there by 7 points. And then the last road game against Youngstown State back on November 29th, that was a 94-69 final score. The Vikings have not fared well on the road. I don't like them. I don't really love them fundamentally in this spot. In a true road environment that's really tough to play in, and a frustrated St. Mary's team that is looking to put together a feel-good blowout win. I just think it's a bad spot for Cleveland State, and I think it's a good buy-low spot for St. Mary's, similar to Tennessee. So give me St. Mary's, the Gales. I'll lay the number here. I think they win this game by 20 points. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bet, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.